Last time on Reckless Attack.
During their first day in the Red City of AGMAR, the party visits the mysterious vault under the Golden Tree Guild Hall. Inside, they find forgotten treasures, unlabeled containers, and for some reason, a bag of old beans. As the clock ticks down to the next Mothman sighting, how else will our brave adventurers prepare themselves? Find out this week on Reckless Attack.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hi, Nathan.
Welcome to Reckless Attack, a fifth edition.
A fifth magician.
Yeah, right.
I just assume at this point that anyone who's listened to this many episodes can just close their eyes and just imagine the onslaught of we're a fifth edition Dungeons and Dragons actual play podcast, and then it just is autofills where you can switch letters around in words and your brains will just skim over it and it'll be fine.
You still know what's happening.
Yeah, you guys get it. We're Reckless Attack. We're a fifth edition podcast. I'm Nathan.
Yeah.
And as long as it's cheering at the end, it doesn't matter. I'm Nathan. I'm your dungeon master here, playing Dungeons and Dragons, and I am joined by my lovely players, as always, to my left.
Hi, it's me, Sophie. That was loud.
Enthusiasm.
I play Valeska Carter, the human asterisk cleric of the Arcana domain, and she still has so many to-dos, and she's looking to get them done.
Check, 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 check.
Hi, everyone. It's Jonathan here, and I play Checkers, the Grung Druid. And each of us at the table has had a delicious chocolate chip muffin today, which I think really contributes to the insanity that has happened before the session.
Fucking hopped up on sugar.
Yeah, exactly. There's been a lot of sugar and just a lot of energy at the table today, so it's going to be good.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Yeah, thanks, Stephanie. Very, very delicious muffins. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm David, and I play Kascorin Brightmane, the Dwarven Warlock. And related to that, I, David, am full of French fries.
Yes, and there was French fries thrown around.
Yeah.
It was a complex evening, diet-wise.
It's been a heavy food evening.
Hello, my name is Steve, and I am playing Sylvesterlin of the Bingjuzi Monastery. And there's some stuff we got to deal with going on in ye old Red City. I think we've all agreed that our next mission is to the library.
The library.
The library.
It's our research episode.
We are in the Red City of AGMAR. The Goth Moth arrival into the city has thrown you all for a little bit of a loop in that, hey, it's magical. This is a magical city. What's this horrible creature doing in here? And why is it trying to attack people? And why can only some people see it? And why can some of those people who can see it do damage to it? And some people can only sort of do damage to it. It's complex. Luckily, you all and a tree man have been set on the case. You met Alarith. He has, on behalf of his wealthy patron, hired you all to help investigate, as well as interview you about your own experiences with the Fear Deer and Goth Moth, whether they be the same or different creatures. He essentially said, do whatever you're going to do during the day. I'm probably going to interview someone who was attacked if they're conscious, but otherwise, we'll meet later in the evening. What would everyone like to do here on your first full day in the Red City of AGMAR?
I believe last time we left off with Selv heading towards the map room.
Yes.
And going to do a little bit of research on aberrations and specifically anything that would match a description of what we have encountered. When he was down there, he saw that Val had already begun said research, which is great because, Selv is wise and kind of smart, but he also likes to build upon what others have done.
Yes, exactly.
And so
there's a lot of wisdom in that, I would say.
Yes, there was. He's basically going to sit down at the desk of doing and review whatever notes Val has on aberrations that she has found so far, and then he will attempt to move forward with that.
Okay.
I will say that you don't find notes on aberrations at first on this huge stack of papers. You find a complex diagram and number system to denote her new organization system she has yet to implement for the books of the map room. So under that are her notes on aberrations, but she went down a tangent late in the night when researching aberrations.
So I will temporarily put to the side the Val decimal system.
Yes.
And then we'll start with the aberrations portion. I don't know if we actually covered this or not, but what is Val's handwriting like? Is it actually legible and neat,
That's
or
an
is
interesting
it kind of like a weird doctor scrawl?
Or a shorthand where it's like,
that too.
Ooh, yeah.
you know,
encoded.
it's almost, it's practically
I
coded.
feel like with a number of languages Val speaks, is she maybe making her own?
She might switch between them.
I would imagine she does occasionally switch between languages because there might be a word in another language that better describes what she is trying to.
Yeah, so there's definitely, most of it is in Pentarchy Standard because Rockman doesn't have a separate language besides that, right?
I think it actually is not Pentarchy Standard as their standard language, but you would know it as trade relations and stuff because you weren't like a part of the Pentarchy, basically.
So it would probably be Sismari, which is common equivalent.
Yeah, exactly.
She would write in Sismari because that would be her native language, but there would definitely be other words that are not Sismari. Like if she's researching something arcane, it would be in the language of magic because she knows that, so she wouldn't translate it in her notes.
Yeah, totally. And I know that we had said that originally they were going to pretty much go straight to the medical center to try and see if this person was awake.
Yeah.
I'll retcon that slightly so that you guys are both in the flow of the game researching at the same time. That way you're rolling at the same time. I'm not giving bits and bobbles here and there. So Steve, were you looking at anything in particular, or were you just being like, let's dive in and see what we can find? Or how are you dividing up your work?
I would imagine that Selv would essentially be the runner for Val. So like he would start off by going through and starting at one part of the library and going through and finding anything that he can that related to aberrations of any kind and kind of pull that stuff and bring it to the desk for Val so that she can kind of start going through and seeing if any of that is relevant or not. And then take whatever notes she needs. And then those books get put to another side where Selv then comes back around, grabs those and reshelves where they were.
That. Lovely.
Selv also, the map room has tall ceilings, and I have not been able to reach the books on the top 3 shelves this whole time.
please help. Yeah.
There is no magical step.
I don't know where the ladder went. Berga was asleep, and I didn't want to wake her.
Tall person.
It's
please.
probably somewhere in the desk.
Yeah.
There's probably a button that a ladder comes out, but we haven't found it yet.
Yeah.
Yes. So, Sophie, does that sound okay that at least your first starting pass for research, in addition to what you've already done, would just be going through map room stuff to kind of give you a baseline of, okay, we might know what direction to go, and then if we need more, we have the big library, the city library.
Yeah.
And as Selv is going through, he's also keeping an eye out for anything revolving around the history of Agmar or interesting locations in Agmar, so that he could put that aside to look up later for the dragon skull and kind of figure out what that's all about.
Yes.
So that is backseat to what we're doing right now, but it is, if he sees a book, he's going to pull it and put that to the side.
In your own pile.
Yes.
Yes.
A much smaller pile.
Sophie, what's the experience that Selv goes through as being essentially a sort of research assistant to a member of the illustrious Atheum? What is Val like in this moment where she has her goal, she has someone helping her, she has her magical, perfect desk? What's that look like?
Well, it looks like her being very meticulous about, she would like instruct Selv where to put the pile and like we'll agree on a system where
Up
like
front.
these are the this is where you put the books I still have to research. These are the ones I'm going to have you take away. I'm going to have a third pile of like come back to with bookmarks in there and like a place for her notes. And she's brought both of us tea. You got to the map room first, but she comes in with like 2 cups of tea. And so we can have our tea while we agree on it. But then there's no liquids at the desk.
It's spell proof. It's spill proof.
It's spill proof, but like The illustrious Atheum did not have that, so she's not used to that luxury.
Right. It's you gotta ease and you gotta dip a toe into that
Yeah.
world.
Is there a spot on the desk where you would put a drink, like a warming spot and a cooling spot, so warm drinks go here and they stay warm, cool drinks go there and they stay cool?
We won't get into what this specific one has at this point. We'll figure that off air. We'll have something ready to go in an episode or two.
That's a feature.
But that is on the list. There is essentially a fantasy coffee machine or caffeine dispenser as well as a water dispenser option.
So is this calm or is it more hectic?
Ooh,
like
good
is it like
question.
a more of a frantic research effort?
Or at least like energetic, and like intense.
Yeah.
I would say it's calm but intensely focused.
Okay. Because
It is purposeful.
Boy,
Yes.
especially with Selv and Val
Yeah.
in a room being both focused, that's an intense place to walk into.
Because I feel like there would be a point this morning where Kascorin would want to check the map. So he walks in and it's like, Valeska, are you guys in here? And then he like sees the energy, just like the focus. It's like, oh, I'll come back later.
Now that we've painted that picture, which I am deeply in love with, before I have you guys roll, I'm interested, Jonathan and David, now that you have done your mail errands, you have investigated the treasure vault, all that good stuff, what are you up to?
After the post office, Checkers takes the opportunity to start exploring around the city. And he does that in the form of really just jumping along the rooftops, going between some of the major landmarks. So the Dragon's Skull, the walls of the Ruby Citadel. He kind of ends up close to the waveless lake to the southeast. And all of this is really just to try and get a sense of what the city is like, what the energy is, and maybe try to uncover some of the hidden paths or some of the roads less traveled that others might not be aware of. Part of this is to so Checkers has the urchin background.
Yes.
And one of the abilities of that is that he knows the secret patterns and the flows of cities that others might miss. And he is able to sort of traverse the city and bring allies along and move basically twice as fast as a normal person would, someone who didn't understand the city quite as well. So he's taking his first full day in Agmar to really just get that sense and understand how the city works.
Are you interacting with people? And again, not necessarily in a let's role play it out, but or are you is Checkers just kind of watching?
For right now, he's keeping a very high level view of this. So he's just sort of going between places and maybe even just closing his eyes and taking the sounds and the smells in for right now. He wouldn't be getting in too much detail or talking to any specific person because he's got a lot of ground to cover.
Yes.
And he wants to make sure that at the very least, he's not going to get lost in the future. Is he'll know that, okay, if I'm to the southeast of this, I can just go here. Maybe not intelligently understand that, but just instinctually understand where he is in the city and how to get from place to place.
Great.
So, if I may, you're playing Assassin's Creed and going to Eagles.
Exactly. I'm uncovering the fog of war and leaping off.
Got it.
He comes back.
That Photoshop picture is so good.
Yeah, it was good.
And he comes back as the head of the Thieves Guild.
Right.
Yes. Guys, I have to leave. I'm sorry.
Guys, look, I found this new stabby wristband.
Flip.
It got off my finger, but I think it's kind of cool. And then all that to say is closer towards maybe the mid or almost close to evening, he would return to the guild hall. He hasn't really set up yet. You know, his assigned room is more or less empty. You know, he went up to the roof to kind of explore there, but where he ends up going is actually the large water feature in the back behind the guild hall, where there's the fruit trees, there's the hot spring, there's the mushroom cave, and he would just sort of end up kind of after a long day of exploring in one of the fruit trees there and just take a minute, lay down and see Mango just kind of like roll into the hot spring and just stay there for like a good 20 minutes. And then something about it is just very soothing and calming to Checkers. So he kind of lays down and just takes a nap in a fruit tree for the afternoon and just feels content. Like, actually,
Lovely.
This is where I want to be right now. This reminds me of something. It reminds me of home, I think. And that's really where he spends the rest of the afternoon, is just basking in the sun, in the warm breeze, and just really enjoying what the guild hall has to offer.
Lovely. I have a question. What is your passive perception?
It is a 15. And the skill is a +5.
Excellent. What I had in my mind was, for every 5 points that you had,
Yeah.
I would tell you a landmark that was not obvious
Okay.
on the map.
Cool.
As you're kind of looking around. The whole city, and you would all, of course, know this as you're kind of going about your day, but you especially, checkers, would kind of get a real sense of where they all are, the look of them, that sort of thing. A series of bell towers throughout the city that seem to every hour chime the time, and every half hour chime it, but in the half hour sense. But they are spread all over the city, and as you're paying attention, you never see anyone ringing bells.
Oh.
There's not even a rope attached to these bells that would be clanging them. You don't know what the mechanism is. I'm sure you will likely want to check that out. But at least in this point, you see that there are all over the city are these bells ringing and bell towers.
Are there any areas in the city where there are large concentrations of guards? Anything like, the barracks for one, but anything that is like, obviously, that's not a barracks, but why are there so many people trying to protect it?
As you're going around, certainly, the Ruby Citadel seems to be a place where there are some of the highest percentage of guards in the city. You would probably have known that is where obviously a lot of things are, including some barracks, but also where a lot of the city's gold stores are, like the gold that you all got for coming here, essentially. That is where that is housed. So there's a lot there. There's also quite a few, of course, at the Money Changer House, where people can exchange foreign currencies who may or may not be coming through. There's a little bit there. And then there is one other building as you are going through on the Uptown District, which you know is the kind of the mansioneer where like clearly the nobles of Agmar must have been. They are not town guards, but they are conspicuous to you as guards, if that makes sense, who all appear to be not just in front of this one particular manor house, but also kind of spread out from that manor house, where you kind of realize as you're hopping around, no pun intended, but also literally,
Yeah, right.
that there is one place that are like, there's like a lot of armed guards people around here. And someone has like private security here in this city. And it seems to be pretty expansive.
Okay.
The final thing that I will be sure to say is that as you go over to the Waveless Lake, you check out the docks. They are bustling. There are some small boats that are going out into the lake. You can see they're probably by this point in day already out there. And unbelievably, the water is glassy still.
Wow.
Even, we'll say that there is a boat going through, and it does not disturb the water at all.
Huh.
I, Sophie, had a little bit of a brain break
Yeah.
trying to imagine that.
Yeah,
Wow.
no, same.
It's like an illusion where it just disappears.
Essentially, yeah. It is a perfectly, seemingly, normally functioning lake, except unnaturally undisturbed.
So my question is this like the giant pool in Rakma where it was like perfectly clear and you could see through it?
No.
Okay.
That's the other thing, is that, it is just this normal, it is murky and it is dark.
Okay.
And very hard to see through. And therefore, like a normal lake that you would expect to be here. Again, there's all this, there's rivers coming through here, so it's very murky, it's very busy, but like there's just nothing, no reaction at the top of this place.
Like murky brown or that darker blue?
I would say it's
like Mississippi brown?
Yeah.
Or like Lake Michigan?
Ooh, it's very deep type of thing.
Yeah.
I would say it's a little on the browner side.
Okay.
That's not to say who knows how deep it is, but again, the way Agmar is situated, there are two major rivers coming into this body of water. So there's like a lot of runoff from mountains and that kind of thing that gets deposited here. So it's pretty dark and murky. But you also notice in the middle of this pretty sizable lake, there is one solitary island that sits again in this very strange, almost surreal picture of a non-moving lake. Is just one single solitary island that you can't really tell because it's pretty far off, does not seem to have any activity on it. Hey everybody, it's me, DM Nathan. I am here flying solo with the mid-roll with minimal script. So let's see how she flies, baby. Only have a few reminders here for you this week before getting you straight back into our episode. First, hope you all enjoyed last week's Reckless a Talk episode with Sophie. If you haven't listened yet, please do. Sophie is somehow even more delightful than we would imagine that she would be based off of our regular episodes. Please be sure to reach out to us to let us know if you've been enjoying those Reckless Talks. It's something that we really enjoy doing and think is important, but it's also always nice to know that they're interesting, useful, and or enjoyable. If you aren't familiar with Reckless Talk, it is our twice-monthly interview show where we sit down with TTRPG creators and personalities to talk shop. We've mostly covered Reckless Attack cast so far, but there's already a really incredible episode with J and B, the DMs of the podcast favorite Planet Arcana podcast. On February 24th, we have our own David Zhang's episode. On March 10th, another incredible community member episode, then an interview of me, March 24th, to round out the RA side of things before diving even deeper into all the awesome creators we are surrounded by. As always, be following on Twitter at Reckless_Attack and Instagram at Reckless Attack Podcast to get updates on those regular episodes, clips, and usual nonsense from me. Finally, I would be remiss in not taking another opportunity to thank you all for the support you've already given us. The reception that we've already gotten has been truly unreal and has allowed us to dream bigger than really we ever thought possible. We appreciate all who have tuned in every week or who tune in sometimes or just auto-download our podcast and hoard episodes like my mom does with a stack of magazines, insisting that, no, I'll get to these, don't worry. Anyway, that's enough from me. Please consider giving us a rating on Spotify, iTunes, what have you. Tell a friend. It's one of the best ways for us to grow. And hey, you get someone to talk Reckless Attack with, so win-win. Back to the episode. As you come back to kind of have your afternoon nap, afternoon siesta, what have you. Oh, also, was the full frog stack traveling with you?
Yeah, so the whole time, Checkers will be riding on top of Mango, and Mango would be doing a lot of the jumping around, but then Checkers would hop off and go explore a few different places and come back, and he would send Junior to a different location and sort of see through his eyes for a hot minute, and then, call everyone back and continue on. So a lot of juggling of frogs.
What languages do you speak?
Checkers speaks passable Pentarchy standard.
Yes.
And he speaks Grung.
Is that it?
Those are the languages that he speaks. Mm-hmm. He is also capable of reading certain symbols that some people leave in cities.
Got it.
He can't really create them that well, but every so often you see like kind of graffiti signs or symbols that are cut into wood that mark safe locations or places where people hide things or things like that.
Well, then in that case, as you are settling down in this garden, something, and we'll say it's after you've had this nice bask and it's getting to be dark and you're feeling nice and relaxed and really content in the space, feeling safe, seeing Mango just like essentially turn into a frog puddle.
Yes, exactly.
You see hidden in the roots of a tree that is out there, a nice, beautiful tree, maybe you were napping in or under, a small notebook that is hidden. It seems to be bound. It does not appear to be overly stained or anything like that, but you see it is tucked away underneath the tree.
That's weird. I wonder who left their notebook out here. Maybe it's Val's. I better bring it back to her. And he would go and pick it up and stow it away for later when he meets up with the rest of the group.
Okay. Do you look through it at all?
Unless there's anything obviously interesting on the cover, he would just assume it's like an old notebook someone left.
Well, you can decide if this is interesting.
Sure.
On the outside, there are just a bunch of doodles. But specifically, it seems like a lot of stylized versions of the mushrooms that you are sitting amongst.
Yeah, I think what would happen then is after Checkers wakes up, and this is late evening at this point, he's waiting for everyone else to get back. He would go back up and see that, Mango and Junior are fast asleep inside the hot springs. And he's really just taking his time and just watching the sun kind of slowly go down on the horizon. He would start slowly flipping through this interesting notebook that he found embedded in this tree that he's sitting in, essentially. And just not really be paying too much attention to it, but just like, kind of killing time a little bit.
Quick aside.
Mm-hmm.
I like to imagine that Junior has taken a mushroom, flipped it upside down so it's like a cup.
Oh, yes.
And like filled a little bit of it with the hot springs water. So he's just like floating in the hot springs, like
God,
his
fully
arms
floating.
on either side of the mushroom rim, just like,
Yeah.
so fan art.
Yeah.
We were once
Jonathan
again-
can decide if that's canon or not, but that's
Yes.
how I like to imagine Junior right now.
100% that is canon. Absolutely.
So scattered in among not just mushrooms and nature that you would recognize here, interspersed with those sketches is a lot of writing in a language that I do not believe you understand.
Fair.
In that you
Yeah.
understand 2 languages.
Yeah, right.
2.5 languages.
He
1.5
speaks
languages.
languages.
Yes.
Reading is hard. Writing is more or less impossible.
So
These are definitely words.
Yeah.
yes, you
I
recognize them
think.
as words.
All right. Well, I'll have to ask Val about this when she gets back. Junior, Mango, get ready. We got things to do tonight.
I have one other question for Checkers.
Mm-hmm.
Did you stop at any food carts? Did you grab a snack while you were out?
We never got a chance to stop at the kebab shops for lunch.
Oh, that's true.
So as he's traversing the city, he would take the opportunity to go visit the sort of central area where all the food carts were and procure some nice, delicious kebabs and other meats.
I will ask no clarifying questions about the word you said. I will say, if you purchased them, you can erase that from your character sheet, that, couple silver pieces or gold or whatever. Or you can not do that.
Yeah.
And that's up to you.
Well, Checkers doesn't carry money around, so he
You procure.
I feel like
He didn't have a choice.
Val would make sure there's like a gold piece tucked somewhere.
So
in
I'm
I'm pretty
Junior's
sure
clothes.
Junior would have it. Like, yeah, he has the one coin. Yeah.
That's where the stone pockets
Right.
that he uses. Val just tucks a gold in there
Yeah,
and
it's lunch
tells
money.
Junior.
Yeah. For, I don't know, whatever you're going to do today, man.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. You'll need that coin for something.
Bus fare.
Yeah.
So he has 3 gold pieces because there would be 3 stones, right?
Yes. In his little pouches in the hat.
in his hat.
David, what is Kascorin up to today? Other than busting fucking Checkers for fucking theft.
I see you just got like kebabbed like little bits around your mouth, and it's like, Checkers, you don't have any money.
I'm imagining in an alternate version of Kascorin would go up to the town guard to be like, look, I have a certain set of skills, and that set of skills is following Checkers around all day, stopping him from doing crimes. Pay me to stop him,
Right.
and believe me,
Yeah, right.
you'll be thankful you did.
I also imagine Checkers comes home, Cass grabs him and grabs his hat and goes 1, 2, 3. There's still 3 gold coins in here.
Wait, there's 6 gold coins in here.
What?
Checkers just has a handful of things you obviously should have bought, but there's still 3 gold coins.
Yeah.
Anyway, David,
Yeah.
Kascorin, what's his whole deal today?
So there's 2 main things that Kascorin wants to do today. After he leaves the post office and has sent some mail, he would actually pop by the Church of the 12.
Ooh, yes. First visitor of the party, in fact.
So he wants to go in, and this is very much like when you enter a new town in a video game, you go to the church to save,
Yes.
your home location.
Totally.
This is him going to the church and really just soaking in the awe and paying homage to all to all the gods here, and is accepting that he's going to be in Agmar for a while.
Mm-hmm. Is there a particular god that he is looking to right now? And also, he's just there to absorb atmosphere, it sounds like, as opposed to take part in a service or talk to someone or anything like that. He's more just to take it all in and check it out and get a feel for it. Is that accurate?
if he finds a statue or even like a plaque of his patron Esfide, he will go and pay homage to that specifically.
Mm-hmm. How this church is set up, it's massive. It's very big. It is probably, actually, it's not probably the biggest church you've ever seen. Maybe it might even strike you as kind of surprisingly, like Agmar is this over-the-top city, right? Where like everything is huge, everything is spectacular. It was magically, architecturally designed to be impressive and intimidating. And this church is like kind of pedestrian, but the long and short of it is still a beautiful church, and all spread evenly across this whole building, this main entryway, are individual little shrines, essentially, or vestibules for each of the gods. So you can approach one of the 12, that kind of the patron god, and then beneath there would be a few saints, certainly some local saints, maybe some pictures, some symbols, what have you, and then piles of offerings of coins, of things that people would leave to kind of hopefully earn favor, say thank you, whatever, to their gods. You would know that this is a pretty standard setup for a big city like this, is that there's a lot of people, there's a lot of gods and a lot of saints.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very Unitarian, I guess, in a way. So you're free to approach and engage each of these little vestibules and shrines however you want.
Okay. So specifically then, and let me know if I understand this right,
Mm-hmm.
he would go up to the shrine dedicated to light,
Mm-hmm.
as his patron Esfide is kind of a subset of the god of light.
Yeah.
And so he pays specific homage to this one. It's kind of like I don't want to say a museum, but he's like looking around, checking out all the different shrines.
It is very, in my mind, is very, I mean, I studied abroad in Rome. And so therefore my brain is like, this is a Roman cathedral.
Yeah.
Like that's 100% what to picture. There's cool sculptures and art and all over the place. Exactly the vibe.
And then the last thing he does before he leaves is there's a lot of statues, but there's also some giant plaques that are almost like floor to ceiling in this church. And one of these contains the creation story of the gods.
Yes.
Like from top to bottom, it is written in massive script detailing the birth of the two and how they turn from two into the gods that we have today.
Mm-hmm.
And so he takes some time to read that before leaving.
Is there anything that draws Kascorin to that story or that tale?
So not to just keep name dropping stuff.
No, it's awesome. I love it.
But there is a line in the creation story that catches his eye. It's this giant script on the wall. And it says, "This complexity is neither good nor bad, nor all black or all white. Some complexities may be pleasant or unpleasant, or lead to harmful ends when denied or over pursued."
Mm-hmm.
And this reminds him of some of the last words he heard from his friend and rival, whose name is Syand, before they parted ways. There was a discussion about how, not everything is as it seems, not everything is one or the other. There are many shades, many multitudes in between. So that caught his eye, and it got him reading the rest of the creation story before he leaves.
Excellent. I love that. Love that.
And then the last thing he does is he would talk to Berga and probably spend the rest of the day reading dossiers.
Ooh, okay.
Because he wants to get informed before we go out tonight.
Okay. And specifically, were you looking for dossiers of anyone in the city, of anyone in the guild, or what's kind of your line of inquiry?
Just to start with some of the major players, he would for sure look up Namgar. He would look up maybe some of the leaders and rulers of the government, perhaps Vina Calveda, the commander of the Red Guard, just to start learning names and putting faces to them.
Okay, perfect.
Did you want to ask her for the full dossiers of the former guild members as well?
Yes. During that time, he would also request more information about the other guild members.
Got it.
And does he request the ones on us?
Ooh.
Checkers is like secret, like double, like taped around, like black, confidential, like do not open.
Highly redacted.
Yeah. No, I mean
Checkers.
Yeah.
End.
Yeah. No, we've trained together for months, so he knows he knows.
He knows what he needs to.
Yeah, he knows. He's comfortable. He doesn't need to know that. But,
Okay,
yeah,
great.
He'll chat more with Berga later, but that's what he would do.
Okay.
Oh, good. At least he doesn't find out that Selv is secretly the great golden worm, Gothic Groggle.
And so what I'll say is that the Golden Tree records on the city are not as robust as you would kind of hope, almost to a surprising degree. But there is some to work off of if there is someone who you're like, this seems like someone maybe the Golden Tree would at least have a name for or a title for or basic information. Say something.
Okay.
And it'll cover some people, is my point. So, the researchers. You have been hard at work as your 2 guild members have been out and about, doing reconnaissance, stealing kebabs, reflecting,
Reconnaissance kebabs.
Yeah.
frog puddles,
Yeah.
etc.
Mhm.
I would like what? I would like a dice roll. Is what I'm getting to.
Unless we decide otherwise, I was thinking Selv would be aiding Val,
Okay.
and so she would make the main die roll for this.
That seems highly reasonable.
If it helps, Selv is also trained in investigation for this. And then I think you have some spells.
Yes. I'm assuming doing this research would entail an investigation role.
I would say investigation is good and certainly great for aiding. 100%. That's perfect. Arcana would work for an aberration, those sorts of things.
And Val has the sage background.
Mm-hmm.
My feature is researcher.
Yes. Yep.
I don't know why you took that. It's never going to come up.
Right. Yeah. I really, Sophie, I'd really like you to lean into the researcher part of Val. Finally, please. Thank you.
Joke, Steve, but I literally picked this for flavor because I was like, when did we ever do research in the last campaign? Like, never.
Yeah. Well, that's because last campaign magic was all new. And so, there was nothing to research. And I was like,
But it's just like-
I want to help
We
them,
were
but I can't.
actively researching while adventuring.
Right.
Yeah.
Killing things was research.
Yeah.
But good news, big ass library. You got it. You'll have your chances.
Mhm. But more to the point of that, it's like when I attempt to learn or recall a piece of lore, if I don't know that information, I basically can then figure out where it is.
Yes, exactly.
So Val kind of anticipates her map room library not being very robust in this topic, but is trying to find the thread to pull.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. With advantage, using investigation, this seems like a great opportunity. Maybe you'll roll really great. I don't want to limit it, but at minimum, I think with all the time you spent with Selv helping you, you will get exactly that baseline of I will know where to go either in this room, in the library, elsewhere. And this will determine degrees of what you find now that might be actionable tonight and how easy your follow-up research is going to be come later today, tomorrow, whatever.
Perfect. Guidance.
Are you casting any other spells on yourself? And how I will rule it is as long as you cast it and it is spent, that it still kind of goes cumulatively towards your research time going better, basically.
Okay. I was going to cast Enhance Ability.
Perfect.
Fox's Cunning. It does give me advantage on intelligence checks, though, so I didn't know how that would balance.
I'm going to rule it as I don't care.
Okay.
I'm going to say it'll give you a bonus.
Okay.
It's usually, I think, +5 is what the math is, or +4 or 5 or something. Screw it. You get that on top of it.
Great.
Cool.
Because you're spending the resource. Fuck it. Suck it, Gary Gygax's ghost.
Yeah. This is how we get canceled, Nathan.
Right, yeah.
Well, or just stop playing D&D. We'll find something else, I guess. I don't know.
Gygax was not around when 5th edition came out. So,
So I'm rolling with advantage.
Yes.
With a D4 and then adding bonus.
Yes.
Cool.
Val is a powerful researcher.
Val actually has high passive perception, right? Decent passive perception.
Decent passive. It's 14. Yeah.
You would notice that she gets so intensely focused, her eyes change color and
Really?
glow slightly.
Ah. Yeah.
That's not what happens to checkers when you get focused. So it's just like
I'll also, before you roll,
Yes.
for magic item purposes,
Mm-hmm.
Selv and Val, you both become users of the Desk of Doing
cool.
as kind of first imprinter types of people. I don't think you have any abilities yet that affects,
No.
but you have done it.
Woo!
So,
Val's very
nice.
excited.
Give me that dice roll, Sophie.
Okay, 19 on the die.
Wow.
Guidance is 1. My investigation is +2, and then 4,
Yes.
26.
Wow.
Wow.
Nice.
Okay.
Val is really good at research.
Yeah, right.
So,
You find nothing.
Yeah, right.
you find plenty. In ages past, when monsters were at one of their peaks, knowing that their activity ebbs and flows with the prevalence of magic, there was one creature that often terrified cities and groups of people. This monster was terrifying not because of its abilities or because of its ferociousness or its sadistic nature, but because of what it represented. It would attack at night, expressing the deepest fears of its victims, draining them and terrorizing them in a literal sense. And then, after the attacks had continued for some amount of time, and in a pattern that your research does not uncover, the final sighting of this creature would be at the location of a great disaster. A bridge collapse, a building falling, a huge breach in the wall that allowed an invading force to enter. Some would ascribe these events to poor luck, to happenstance, or simply to the dangers of living in a high magic place. But the researchers of old, and you, especially with the aid of the library and the aid of Selv, are able to piece together that you agree that this creature causes those disasters, or at least are their heralds, and there's an association with its attacks and the disaster.
So just to clarify, the disaster, where it appears with that disaster, has not happened yet. It is not it is not a disaster that has happened in the past, and it appears at that location.
Correct.
Okay.
It is. There are attacks, and after these attacks have occurred nightly, much like you are seeing now, is a disaster happens. Reports are muddied as to whether this creature is there physically, but after the disaster, the attacks end. The final thing I will have to say, the name of this creature is the Mothman. And we will see you next week.
You're just going to leave it there?
What?
So good news, we kind of knew the name.
Yeah, right.
Godfather was not that far off, but holy fuck, what a terrifying monster.
Yeah, right? Dear God.
If you love Reckless Attack, and I know you do, you'll love the people who helped us make it possible. Our logo artist, Maggie Pearson, character artist, Borg Cinnabon, and website designer, Donnie Chung, put together all of the visuals you see for our podcast. We have some fantastic music, too. Our opening and closing theme was written by Chicago-based composer Megan Carnes. We also use the works of Kevin MacLeod and Michael Gelfi for our background music, and appreciate all the wonderful content they've put on the internet. You can find all of their social media links and more info about each of them on our website, recklessattack.com. See you all next time.